over time, we are continuing to normalize addiction in our day-to-day lives. And maybe it's hard to notice that for a lot of people, but it's becoming more and more apparent. And so I just want to talk about this for a little bit. With the way that marketing is nowadays, our exposure to social media influencers and them portraying their extreme lifestyles and a lot of people looking up to those kind of people, it's really affecting our way of life in a way, our exposure to these different types of content, if you will, just promoting unhealthy behavior and these poor life choices, these poor lifestyles. And there's obviously a lot more obvious addictions that people have: drugs, alcohol, gambling. But there's always more and more smaller addictions that people may not even realize that they're addicted to, but it just becomes these daily habits in people's lives because, it can happen for numerous reasons. Lack of productivity in our lives, a lack of, productive hobbies or whatnot. But, just without the main addictions that I listed, beyond that, we have all of our ultra-processed foods. All of our foods are being tampered with to some degree. Our level of media consumption just melting our brains. The newest thing, nicotine pouches, seeing that absolutely everywhere, but media consumption being the main thing. And just, TV, video games, etc. And so a lot of people might realize that they don't have these certain addictions because it's easy to overlook these things and not really classify them as addictions because we're counting them as these daily activities. It's also unfortunate that getting into some of these things, such as like alcohol, smoking, whatever, it's how we socialize. It's these social settings that we're putting ourselves into to meet new people and get along with people. That is the main way of getting out and socializing and meeting new people, strengthening these relationships. And so it's really just giving more reason to get into these addictions. So in this day and age, we are being exposed to all kinds of addictions, and it doesn't help that we are being exposed to new addictions and new ways of conducting our lives through social media and seeing how other people are conducting their lives, how they choose to do that. Because obviously being exposed to social media influencers and how they conduct their lives has a much larger influence than we may realize. We are going to change ourselves based on what we expose ourselves to on a daily basis, what kind of people we expose ourselves to. That is the person we become, more or less. Our traits are going to change, our characteristics, how we act, the decisions we make, the habits we have. All of it is changing more or less over time, even if it's in small increments based on the life choices that you are making. And so I just wanted to mention this today. It's becoming more and more normal to be addicted to these things. No matter how trivial they are, they do have a larger effect over the long term. And I'm just noticing it with the people around me, especially when it comes to just how people spend their time. When people are socializing and talking about what they do in their free time, it's obviously very common that people are spending so much time just consuming media, playing video games, watching TV, scrolling on their phone all day. The point that I'm trying to make, before you're reaching things such as the gambling, the alcohol, the doing drugs and whatnot, you may be addicted to so many other things without even realizing it before reaching those things like that. So you may tell yourself, okay, I'm not a gambler. I'm not drinking alcohol on a, consistent basis. I don't do drugs. I'm not falling for lust or whatever it is. But you're doing all of these smaller things in the meantime, like playing on your phone, something that is designed to keep you hooked, to keep you addicted, with these algorithms designed to keep you interested. They are built based on your interest, based on your demographic, designed to keep you sucked in. Everything we eat is affecting us in some way. And so basically what I've realized is that being more aware of how we are acting on a day-to-day basis with these certain decisions will go a long way. Another thing I wanted to bring up with really pertains to smoking. In some Asian countries, the way that they advertise, you go to like some gas stations or convenience stores, the way they advertise cigarettes or smoking, vaping, what have you, they, on their packaging, on their labels, they show the long-term effects of smoking and what that does to people's, their teeth, their gums, just images of the repulsive after effects of people smoking for long periods of time, for certain durations of their life. And people see this on the shelf behind the gas station attendant or whatever, and it turns them away. It has a reverse effect. So less and less people are smoking cigarettes, smoking vapes. And that is just an interesting point that I wanted to bring up, because they are choosing to not promote that, but to rather steer people away from doing so. And so in that way, I think there's definitely ways to steer people away from these daily addictions, no matter how big or small that they are, and whether you realize or not how much of an impact it has on your daily life, and how much you may be accomplishing in your life. But obviously that'll depend on what goals and dreams you may have and what things you want to accomplish in the long term. The point of all this is that it's very easy to overlook the various pleasures and inconveniences that are given to you, such as your phone, such as all the things that I mentioned. They are very easy to overlook as addictions, as things that can have detrimental effects on your health, because they're things that you may not see now, but you may see in the long term. Whereas there are other addictions that are way more apparent to people, and it's easier for them to make that decision to not commit to consistently consuming that certain thing, that certain activity, if that makes sense. So that's really the difference, being more aware of your daily decisions. And this is kind of my way of self-reflecting and trying to apply that to my daily life and how I will be perceiving my daily activities and choices that I am making. So I just want to talk about that today. Society continues to normalize addiction through how these certain addictions are marketed to us, and how we are influenced to do it, whether it's through social media or what have you. And in terms of younger audiences, it's easier to be influenced to do those things, to fit in with whatever friend group, whatever social settings, and that only spreads it more. So, yeah. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. That's all for now.